So many times people ask me, what's your favorite cuisine? And to be honest, I don't have a favorite cuisine. But I think every once in a while, one is seeking the comfort of flavors of cuisine that one has grown up with. The flavors that you taste in a Mangalorean preparation, I think are quite unique. And I think that comes from the masala. I think let's get to that pomfret now. That fish is fresh, pristine white. Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's a bit of a cloudy day here in Namma, Bengaluru. I'm in town. It's around 12:15 mid-morning, running some errands here. And today I'm in the mood to savor some comfort food. So many times people ask me, what's your favorite cuisine? And to be honest, I don't have a favorite cuisine. It's more about what I feel like at a certain point in time. But I think every once in a while, one is seeking the comfort of flavors of cuisine that one has grown up with. And so when it comes to that, for me, it's Mangalorean food. That's really the food that I look forward to savoring. Today, I am yearning for some good fish curry, rice, and perhaps some fry too. So I've decided to head out to an eatery where I haven't visited in a while now. We've done an episode, a Gourmet on the Road, on this a while ago. I think it was over a year ago. Definitely over a year ago. And this was when what we now refer to as the good old days, prior to what life has been for the last year and a half. And this is a restaurant called Mangalore Pearl. So you get the connection, Mangalore Pearl, and the sort of comfort food that I crave for. In fact, when I did the episode there, I tasted, I think, about 9, 10 or 11 dishes, not sure exactly how many. But I definitely remember there was a prawn ghee roast that definitely stood out as one of the favorite dishes that I tasted there. I don't know if I'm going to taste that today. Maybe I will. Maybe something else, not sure. Anyways, you will find out. Let's get to Mangalore Pearl and savor some Mangalorean Meenu Uta. There used to be a very popular Keralan restaurant here called Ente Keralam, which is no more. It's been very difficult for restaurants. I think about 30 to 40% of eateries have just been wiped out of business. And doesn't matter what level, right? Whether it's in a 5-star hotel or a freestanding restaurant or maybe a more mid-scale eatery or even a darshini for that matter, or even street side. I think at least 40% of eateries have not reopened. After the first lockdown, there were many restaurants that closed, many eateries that didn't reopen. But then I think the second wave and subsequently, I think that has just been the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. So when this hit us last year, I think in 2020, I think most eateries, most businesses actually, were still coming off a reasonable 2019. So there were resources that they had. So even though things closed down, I think, a reasonable number could get back. But then after that, it's been a very depressed sort of a year for most businesses. And therefore, when the second wave happened and businesses had to close down again, I think there were no resources for many of them to actually reopen. This time around especially has been very difficult. All that one can do though is say a prayer every morning. That's something that I do. It's a part of my morning routine. Say a prayer, do the best that you can to stay safe, and mask up when you're in public, wash your hands. And I think also very important to get your vaccination shots. Most of the research that's out there says that if you're vaccinated, you definitely have a much better chance of staying strong against the virus. So do get vaccinated. Keeps you safe and also keeps people around you safe. That's Alsur Lake there. I haven't been to Alsur Lake in God knows how many years. Nice to see the water. I'm a couple of minutes away from the place, and for some mysterious reason I'm beginning to feel hungry. And that's always something that happens, right? Especially with me, because I do intermittent fasting, so my typical fasts are 16 hours, 18 hours. In the evening, I'm usually, when I'm not shooting, I'm usually eating perhaps just some raw food, a salad, some nuts and things like that. So I can go on for 16, 18 hours. And so typically I would eat around 2 o'clock or so. But today it's not even 12:30. And as I'm approaching Mangalore Pearl, I'm feeling hungry. I think just that anticipation, I think, of some great food. Your brain starts to send signals to your stomach, saying perhaps there is some food coming up. And we have reached Mangalore Pearl right there. How are you?
Hi.
All well?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are things?
Going on.
I was in a neighborhood and I felt like eating some fish curry and fry.
Welcome.
So that's Naveen Pinto and Greg. I met them the last time around too. So Naveen and his brother Stephen, who began Mangalore Pearl. How many years ago?
That was 15 years ago. Steven started off.
That's right.
Then I joined him.
So Stephen is not here right now. I've told he has done his marketing for the day. He's the one who goes and brings all the fish in. In fact, you must take a look at that episode. There was an array of seafood that we looked at, and of course that also led me to order many of the dishes. So if you haven't got that Mangalore Pearl Gourmet on the Road episode yet, I'm going to place a link here and also in the description below. But today we're not going to be as indulgent as we were there for that lunch. Today we'll probably have a simple fish curry. So what do you recommend?
Yeah, we have pomfret, white pomfret is available.
Okay.
Sear fish is there. Carnes are also there. And the kube, the clams.
Oh, clams are there.
Yeah.
Do you do a kane curry? Is a kane size? Medium size. Okay, so it may not be very this thing in a curry. Okay, then maybe we'll do a pomfret curry. What curry will you give me?
There are 3 varieties for now. One is the coconut based curry, the raw mango curry, and amboti curry, the spicy and sour curry.
I think I'll do an amboti.
Amboti.
Yeah, I want to get a jolt of Mangaluru. So therefore, I think an amboti will be nice, spicy and sour.
Yes, and you'll go with the white rice or a red rice for that.
Boiled rice, always. Red rice will do. We'll do a kane.
Tawa fried.
Tawa fry. Is it possible for me to, and only if it's possible, to get like a half portion of the kube?
Certainly you get it.
Huh?
The kube sukha, right?
Sukube sukha. Just to get a bit of that, get a taste of that.
No worries.
So just doing a curry, a fry and a kube, which is the clam sukka, the marwai. In fact, the marwai, I have many memories associated with it in Bombay, growing up in Bombay. So you wouldn't get that very often. You would get that once in a while. But when we got it, just relishing that marwai was something else. Tiny flecks of meat that you find, just the flavor of it. You know, that slightly marine, briny flavor of that marwai. And especially in a sukka sort of a masala, used to be delicious. When I came here for my review the last time around, the restaurant was packed, and I think probably on weekends they may do better. Today is a weekday, so there's only one table there of diners, but the rest of the restaurant isn't, at least how I remember it. Tough days. The one thing that I remember about Mangalore Pearl, apart from the food of course, also was the pricing of the dishes. So for instance, a Bangde fish curry is 140, boneless fish raw mango curry, I think they use the perch or something like that, is 220. A kube sukka, the clam sukka, is 160. The prawn ghee roast is about 280. In fact, I think there's a fillet of fish that they've ordered there with some masala, which looks quite nice. You know, that's the thing with eateries, right? So when you walk into the restaurant and you see people enjoying their dishes, you want to taste that too. And that's something that always happens to me. So I'm always looking at what people are eating. Of course, it tells you what's most popular at the place, especially if you're new to the place, but then it also creates in you a desire to taste that. So I think that's the perch masala fry. I like my fish on the bone. You know, I think it's a Mangalorean thing. You want to pick the flesh off the bone. Of course, in addition to the seafood, they also have the chicken dish. So there's a chicken liver pepper, there's a lollipop fry, sukka, roast curry. There's pork too. And of course, vegetarian, I think there's some raw plantain sukka, a veg curry. So I think the vegetarian, although it's substantial enough for a meal, I think typically people would order the seafood, perhaps some chicken and or some pork, and then do the vegetarian on the side. But I'm going to begin with the sole curry. That's a kokum that's blended with the milk and some spices. I can definitely taste the ginger in that. The ginger, there's some chili there. I think some curry leaf too that probably goes into it. I think the sole curry, because it's sour and also warming, especially as that sole curry as a liquid slithers down your throat, is also the sort of drink that also prepares your palate. Get your appetite going, ready for what will follow from the kitchen. It's also the kind of setup where which is nice, bright and airy. So you've got these windows that open out into the tree cover out here. Plenty of ventilation. There's some pomfret happening there. And I think that's my food right here. The kani, and also that's the
pomfret curry that we had asked.
Okay. So that's
The amboti.
So what pomfret is that? Is it a black pomfret or white?
White pomfret.
White pomfret. Okay, so you kind of
Slice it.
slice it. Okay. I think my food's getting ready to come out, so I think I better leave the kitchen too. Well, the food's here. Time to get rid of the mask.
Kobe sukka.
Oh, that's a full portion.
No.
It's half. It's a generous half. I've got all my dishes right here. So I've got my khane, which is a tawa fry with that masala, of course, and the curry leaves. These are the medium-sized khane, and another side, which is the kube, the clam sukka. I asked them for a half portion, but I think they've been a little more than generous. So I've got plenty of clams here, and to round off our meal, we have the pomfret ambotik. So this is basically the white pomfret that they have cut into pieces in that sour and spicy curry, which is what an ambot teak is all about. Ambot teak. So I think ambot is basically sour and teak is spice in Konkani, if I'm not mistaken. With the curry, we have some rice, and we also have some neer dosai to give company perhaps to that curry too. So I think first things first, I want to make a beginning with that kane. Plenty of masala.
It's a breadfruit.
Hey, I don't want...
Have it is. It's a breadfruit.
So
Similar to a jackfruit family.
I know. So what you do is just give me 2 pieces of this. I don't want to waste it. Right? So just give me like 3-4 pieces. Yeah. But they also want me to taste the breadfruit. Anyways, getting back to that kane. Plenty of masala on this kane. I love the warmth of that masala, and I've asked for them to fry this in the coconut oil. I think the flavor of that coconut oil and the curry leaf, delicious. This is a fish that's fresh. You know, whenever you're looking at fish, you want to make sure that the fish is pristine in its whiteness, and fish should never smell. Thank you. That's delicious. I love the texture of kane. So kane, unlike let's say some of the other meaty fishes like a seer, kingfish or a bangde, the kane is quite flaky in its texture and also its flavor. It's very delicate. So the kane, I think in terms of the flavor, is more nuanced, is more subtle. And if you're a Mangalorean, you are sucked through that head. Because that is a bundle of deliciousness. I think let's taste some of that kube next, the Marwai Sukta. So you have such a big shell, of course with that masala, the coconut, some onions, the coriander, etc. But what you're after is the prize. And that is that tiny sliver of the mollusk that you find in there. So the mollusk is quite intense, a bit briny, a bit marine-like in its flavors. So I think the masala, that the sukta masala, that the coconut, the coriander, the onions, etc. I think that helps offset some of that flavor punch of the clams. What also happens as that clams are cooked is that those tiny mollusks get dislodged from the shell and therefore they scatter themselves around in that sukka masala. So you've got to be a bit patient when it comes to savoring some marwai. That masala or that sukka would also go rather well with some neer dosa. Take some of that neer dosa and scoop out that marwai with some of that sukka masala. Not a pretty sight to look at, but deliciousness when it lands in your mouth. To a Mangalorean, that is bliss. That neer dosa that is cradling that tiny clam and some of that sukka masala. That sukka masala is gold. You know, the flavors that you taste in a Mangalorean preparation, I think are quite unique. And I think that comes from the masala. There's of course always a coconut base, but then a combination of the coriander, the jeerige, the cumin. There's also some fenugreek seeds that go into that masala that gives it a very distinct sort of a flavor. And of course the chilies. And I think mostly the favorite chili in Mangalorean cuisine is the Byadgi Menchinakai. And of course also that slight tartness that you get from the Hunsen Hannu or the tamarind. And what's nice in this sukka is that they also have thick slivers of that coconut, allowing you something to crunch into, that juicy fleshiness of that coconut. I want to excavate the masala and the kube from the shells. You know, if you're a Mangalorean, you will understand what I'm telling. So you have the flesh, and then you also have this tiny bit of the flesh that connects the mollusk to the shell. So once you're done with the main part of the meat, so to speak, one begins to ferret that out too. That's a flavor bomb right there. The intense flavors of that masala and complemented by that slightly briny, slightly strong flavor of that kube, of that marwai. I think let's also taste some of that diu gujje or the breadfruit. So I think the reason why we Mangaloreans love it is that its flesh is quite meaty in its texture, and when you tug on it. So this typically grows in your backyard if you're in Mangalore. So you have this diu gujje or the breadfruit as it's called in English, trees. And when the diu gujje is ready, you typically slice it, immerse it in a batter with the chilies, with the flour and some seasoning. I think some jeerige that goes into it, some curry leaves, salt, chili powder, etc. It also makes for a very tasty snack along with your tea or coffee. These are things that you don't typically get outside Mangalore. And I think that's the reason why when I visit Mangalore Pearl, I don't visit as often as I think I should. The flavors of the sort that conveys you straight back to Kudla. I think I'm going to go to the second kane. My plate's a mess, but a happy mess. The delicious fish fry. And it's 3 medium-sized kane for about 300 rupees. I think when it comes to seafood that's honestly priced, fresh seafood, I think it's difficult to beat Mangalore Pearl. Needless to say, I'm savouring my mean uta here at Mangalore Pearl. Just thought as I get to my curry, a fresh plate will be nice. Thank you. I have respect for that pomfret curry. Then get some of the rice first. The boiled rice. Not only is it of course more healthy and nutritious, but it also makes for the perfect medium to soak up the curry. And in this case, the ambo teak. The sour and spicy ambo teak. That curry is still warm. There's some tomatoes that I see in there. Some chili, of course, to convey the spice, curry leaf. So typically when it comes to Mangalorean curries, and I have a fish curry that's up on the channel on Food Lovers TV. I don't know if you caught that. I filmed that during the last lockdown. Every home or every community will have its own style of the curry. There's some communities which like that curry to be a little more kadak, a little more spicy, and there are some who perhaps like their curries to be a little mellow. So there's no such thing as a right curry or an authentic curry or a not authentic curry. I think it really depends on what each home or each household is used to savoring, is used to preparing over generations. So for instance, the curry that I did in Food Lovers TV is not a very spicy curry. So sometimes I get comments saying it's not too spicy or it's not too kadak. Well, that's sort of curry that we grew up with. On that note, let's taste the Mangalorean pearl fish curry, the ambo teak. You can definitely taste the sour notes of that curry that comes from the tamarind, and also of course that green chili spice, but somewhere I'm also tasting a bit of the flavor that comes from the fenugreek seeds or the mente cardo or the mente seeds that I think typically goes into every Mangalorean fish curry. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I can also taste the roasted flavors of the coriander, the chili. So typically the spices, the ingredients are roasted before it is ground into that masala. So I can also taste some of that roasted flavors on my palate. That is a fulsome curry. And is a sort that the plum grains of boiled rice have welcomed. There's also some tomato in this. I think let's get to that pomfret now. That fish is fresh, pristine white. You got to spend some time engaging with it, drawing some of the bones out. You know, along with the green chili that goes in, I think towards the end, I think there's plenty of the red chili that goes into that ambo teak. It's got that spicy sort of a warmth that grips hold of your tongue. So if you've been slightly unwell with a cold or something else, and you want the sort of flavors that will wake up, that will jolt your taste buds back to life, I think that ambo teak is certainly the curry to have, especially with the slivers of green chili. That's a delicious fish curry. So the last time around I had a more milder fish curry. I don't remember what that curry was, but do take a look at the Gourmet on the Road episode. So that was mild, if I recollect correctly. But this is a spirited fish curry. Definitely sort of curry that calls for a second helping of the boiled rice. That rice has absorbed that curry, has soaked in it completely, almost to an extent that you're not chewing on the rice, you're slurping on the curry in the rice. And that fish is pristine in its freshness. I'm loving it. There's also a bit of garlic that I'm tasting in there somewhere. The belulli. I don't know if you can hear me slurp on the curry. It makes the general buzz out here in the restaurant. Happy to report that there are more customers now in the restaurant. At least about 2 or 3 tables since the time we walked in. Well, I've got my last khane, and that is something that I definitely want to savor before I leave Mangalore Pearl. And perhaps with a spoon of the boiled rice, just to savor with some of that masala. And maybe a couple of marwai too. There's plenty more of the marwai, the fish curry, not the khane. on my table here. This is sort of order that would happily feed 2 or 3 people. And I'm going to pack some of the food when I leave. Having said that, as you know by now, I have thoroughly enjoyed my trip down memory lane to the flavors of Mangaluru in my meal here at Mangalore Pearl. So they're looking to savor some delicious Udlada Uta, great flavors, very honestly priced, in an environment that lets you feel comfortable, that lets you relax. I think definitely look up Mangalore Pearl. For a more in-depth look at the menu on offer here, do look up that Gourmet on the Road episode on Mangalore Pearl. I hope you've enjoyed this rather nifty, rather quick Mangaluru da Meen Uta vlog. You'll find the address of Mangalore Pearl and the Google Maps coordinates in the description below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, bye.